Well, there's a new study out by the Department of Homeland Security that finds that the Transportation Security Administration is not doing such a good job tracking or reporting its findings. And even when it knows about airport security breaches, it's not often fixing them. A few things that happen, including at least one person getting through the TSA screening with a knife. And I want to show you some video of another incident.
I bought a sewing kit from the dollar store, broke out my 8th grade home ec skills, and sewed a pocket directly on the side of a shirt. Then I took a random metallic object, in this case a heavy metal carrying case that would easily alarm any of the old metal detectors, and I walked through a backscatter x-ray at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. On video, of course. While I'm not about to win any videography awards for my hidden camera footage, you can watch as I walk through the security line with the metal object in my new side pocket. My camera gets placed on the conveyor belt and goes through its own x-ray, and when it comes out, I'm through, and the object never left my pocket.
That was Jonathan Corbett, president of Fourten Technologies. Today, Jonathan presented some of his other findings on the TSA to Congress. Well, that was this morning. He has since flown back to Miami, Florida, where he joins us from now. Hey there, Jonathan. I guess start out by talking. Hey, tell me a little bit about the centerpiece of your findings that you presented to Congress today.
Sure. So to Congress today, I presented actually a little more detail than we saw in that YouTube video. There are several exploits that myself and others have identified in these body scanners, and the one on video is just a nice one because it's so easy to do. It doesn't really take anything, and it's effective for objects large enough, to be a firearm or even larger than that. So I presented those details to Congress so that they can kind of demand some accountability from the TSA on it.
You seem to be somebody that Congress wouldn't want to be associated with, somebody that's sort of testing the government. Were you surprised when they invited you to sort of share what you had learned with them?
Well, the TSA, I can understand having that kind of point of view, but Congress is a little more accountable to its constituents. So Congress needs to actually make sure that what they're doing is what their constituents want, is what's going to keep us safe. Whereas the TSA right now has very little accountability. The courts are having a hard time keeping them accountable. Congress is having a hard time keeping them accountable. They've stopped and detained actually several people in Congress at this point in airports. So it's gaining that leverage on the TSA for accountability purposes that we're after.
And I'm going to use some of the words that you used. You've called the nude body scanner program, quote, nothing more than a giant fraud. I know that you're also the first person to sue the TSA for those body scanners. Talk to me a little bit about your biggest complaint.
My biggest complaint, well, there are lots of complaints. I guess forefront is the privacy issue, and that the government is essentially demanding a digital strip search to enter the airports nowadays. That's what it is, no more, no less. These devices can take pretty graphic pictures of you without your clothes. The same applies to the pat-downs, which require, if they're done properly, them to touch your genitals. This is pretty extreme, and it's being directed at the general public. This is not just at people who have made some kind of list or have failed initial screening. These are methods now used for primary screening.
And just to be clear, you're obviously not arguing for no security at the airport. You kind of are totally fine and think that those good old-fashioned metal detectors do the job just fine?
Correct. They do the job better than these body. Metal detectors don't have blind spots like the body scanners are. So if you think an imaging device is essentially like a pair of eyes. So if you know from driving, for example, that there are blind spots, that there are things that you can't see, these imaging devices have those same issues. Standard good old-fashioned magnetometers don't have those issues.
Well, let me ask you then, I mean, this naked body scanner program that's now in most of the major airports around this country, this was extremely expensive. So, if what you say is correct, if the metal detectors work just as well or better, why would it be that the government would spend so much money implementing these new machines, putting into place this new technology, training people for it, if it doesn't actually work as well?
Well, that's why I got it to call it a giant fraud. Where exactly the fraud lays, who knows? Did the TSA know exactly how ineffective these machines were when they bought them? I'm not sure. And another thing that's been brought up is that if you follow the money, it does seem to take a pretty suspicious path.
Well, suspicious how?
Two companies that make the body scanners that are currently being purchased by the TSA. One of them is associated with the former DHS chairperson, and the other is the same parent company that brought us Abu Ghraib, that does security contracting in Iraq. So these are companies that have deep ties in Washington already.
So you're sort of suggesting that this was sort of favors to friends in terms of I'll buy your product if it's going to, give you money, and we'll use it in our airports?
It's certainly possible. When you see solutions like these being implemented that are so far, you kind of look for why that happened. That's one plausible explanation.
Let's sort of talk bigger picture here. It's really interesting to me, Jonathan. This is not a left issue or a right issue. Being angry at the TSA, often you find just as many Democrats as Republicans up in arms about it. Certainly when Congressman, presidential candidate Ron Paul speaks about it, about eliminating the TSA, it gets a big reaction. But why do you think it is that this is not an issue on either side, that this is sort of an all-encompassing issue that people have really rallied around?
It is, and it really should be. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily seem like it, just because the party that's in office, their party kind of rallies around them a little bit. But this is a problem that's gone through both sides of the aisle here. The problem is an affront to our civil liberties, and that's not an issue that's partisan. No one wants to be strip searched by their government, and that doesn't matter if you have an R or a D after your name.
Any indication, Jonathan, because this is sort of something that you're at the forefront of, any indication that Congress or those people in power are going to actually do something about your findings and some of the other research that's been done by the Department of Homeland Security on the TSA, or did they just sort of want to appease you and listen to what you had to say and sort of send you on your way?
It's slow, but it's moving. We kind of say in the TSA protest community that it's one group at a time. It's people from people that assume that they're working for our safety, and to people that question why they even exist. As I mentioned earlier, they've acted in Congress, in airports. There was one the other day that was accused of assault before the TSA person realized that he was the House of Representatives for pushing his. So, one group at a time, the TSA is slowly alienating the American people, and that includes Congress.
All right, Jonathan Corbett, president of Fourten Technologies. Good to have you on the show.